Over the years, I've tried to settle in different destinations across the world in search for greener pastures. Indeed, I've had a great time. I've got a chance to explore the corporate world, met friends across different countries, I've had fun and I absolutely loved it. Oh well, I found myself back in my home country, Zimbabwe. So what really made me come back home? What's that unique thing about Zimbabwe that makes it a beautiful place to live in? Is it our amazing climate? Is it our organic food? Is it the spirit of Ubuntu among our people? Let's find out. Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. For you for the first time, hi, I'm Tina Sparks, your favorite African without borders. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you why I like staying in Zimbabwe even after being an immigrant in other countries, and I believe I've gained different perspective towards life, towards living, and towards general well-being of living in a place. And I want to share that experience with you guys. So please give this video a huge thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers and it can only happen if you guys make it happen. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. So many people say I share propaganda because I'm only focusing on the positive side of Zimbabwe and I don't share much about the negatives. And many of you say, oh, Tina Sparks, you've been paid to say this and that about Zimbabwe positively. But let me explain. The media has done quite a good job, sharing the negative narrative about Zimbabwe. A lot of things that could go wrong in Zimbabwe, why you shouldn't visit Zimbabwe, etc., etc. But truth be told, there are two sides of a coin, the head and the tail. Two sides of a whole experience in a country. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative, and no country is perfect. So if the media has shown the negative parts, I want to share the positives because the positive narrative is less talked about. Definitely it is true, and I know you guys have heard that Zimbabwe doesn't have the best economy. Zimbabwe has had one of the most inflated currencies in the whole world. Economies go in recess, economies recover. But hey, I'm not here to talk about macro politics and macroeconomics of a country, as this is not a political channel, but an insight of the pros of living in Zimbabwe from a general perspective that is an average person and has had average experiences to life. Just you guys to get a general idea of what living in Africa is like, investing in Africa is like, and so forth. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to talk about, you guys, is the people. I know we have Zimbabweans everywhere. Zimbabweans have left the country, but also a lot of people are also coming into the country as expats and as returnees because the economies keep changing, like I've been telling you guys. But generally, Zimbabweans are well educated and they know what they want out of life. That's why you've got people who are going out there searching for greener pastures because they're not going to settle with people, and I love that for Zimbabweans. Very nice people, happy people. I've never really had very straining relations with Zimbabwean people. Zimbabwe also has very beautiful ladies, you guys, down to earth kind of ladies. I mean, if you met the right one, you've met the real one. When I talk of beautiful ladies, I'm not talking about people who look beautiful because of extensions, no, that's not beauty. Beauty comes from within. That's one of things that I've realized about a Zimbabwean. Most of the beautiful ladies, I mean, you can look at a Zimbabwean population and say, oh, this is an obese population like other countries. Zimbabweans are quite healthy. We are naturally just health conscious because of the food we eat. The food is very organic and we've carried that tradition over the years. There's not much fertilizers, not much GMOs, genetic modifications added to our food, and the taste is also very natural. So we have beautiful bodies, we don't have much fat. I mean, as you guys can see. Another thing that I've also noticed, not everyone grew in families, but generally Zimbabweans believe in families. No matter how hard it is, no matter how financially stable people are, families are also a huge part of our culture. Families stay together. I don't know if it's the same with other cultures, but I've stayed in a country where families are not really recognized. Mothers can have kids, from different fathers, and then they just leave them. They go out there and they go to enjoy the best of their lives while the child is remaining with Bomkulu, and they never come back. But for us, even as we were raised by our grandmothers or grandfathers, our parents were there, to just come in on and check on us. Not everyone has had the same experience, but generally the majority, I would like to say. And then after being an adult and lived in another African country, I realized that Zimbabweans are fast. When I first came here, I didn't like it because it took me time to calculate everyone's move. Everyone is fast thinking. Everyone is trying to think the next way to make money. And I used to think, no, these guys are too fast. Baya papa, banezungu. That's how we call it in Shona. But I also realized that no. Time waits for no man. You sleep, you lose. I believe that's the way Zimbabweans have made to cope with making money and trying to stay on their feet amidst all the economic chaos. You have to be on your toes in making money. You bring in money fast. You try to multiply it, you send it out fast. That's basically how it has become. So Zimbabwean people are amazing people and I love it. Of course, there are one or two people who want to spill damarese. In China we say damarese, and we don't want that. And I mean, 2 or 3 people out of a 10 can actually not generalize the whole population, but in average Zimbabweans are amazing. Number 2, the food. I've brought so many people on this YouTube channel who talk about Zimbabwean food being so amazing. Our diet is so simple. One thing I like about our food is we don't spend the whole day cooking a simple dish, and our food is easy to cook. Our food also is just organic. As I was saying earlier, you can find organic food anywhere. It's either the supermarket, it's either the local vegetable market that we call Musika, or it's either just at your back garden. Zimbabwe is very blessed with land. Even if you stay in a home, you always have space for a beautiful garden. People grow tomatoes in their gardens, vegetables, carrots, green beans, peppers, the herbs to garnish your food. Imagine you're growing your own vegetables in your back garden. You're not using any fertilizers. You are getting manure from your chickens that you're also raising. And when you're raising your chickens, most of them, they are just free feed, what we call my road runners. They're very organic, even the meat. I was surprised when I came to Zimbabwe. I was like, I don't eat chicken takeaways, but even chicken like KFC from another country and KFC from Zimbabwe, I'd like to say those two actually taste different. Even if you're boiling chicken from another country and you're boiling chicken from Zimbabwe, the other country's chicken, it has fat coming out, and in Zimbabwe the chicken is just okay. It's tasty, doesn't have a lot of fat, and it's very healthy to eat. You can basically plant everything. We are in the rainy season. It's November, December, and January. The majority is accustomed to growing some crops during the rainy season. So people are preparing their fields to grow maize, beans, zungu, that is peanuts, groundnuts, nimo, black-eyed peas, nyemba. For people to eat nguva yeshija, it's harvest season around March, April. It's Maguta time because you can get maize or sweet corn, to roast, to cook. You can have it for breakfast, you can have it for lunch. That time everyone is eating something that they have grown in their small lands that is allocated in the urban areas called Kumaminda. My grandmother has a munda, and in the farms, my paternal side, we have farms, hectares of land that you can grow. Even those that don't have money for seed, the government provides seed for the people to plant, because if people don't plant, it's going to be a national problem. The government makes sure that people plant for themselves and then take care of the harvest themselves. And those people who are into commercial farming send harvests to the grain marketing boards that pays them money. They then resell it to those people that are not really farmers and they're not interested in farming, and etc. Sometimes some of the grain is stored into the silos in cases of droughts. or national disasters, and then they are shared with the population. Did you guys know that Zimbabwe at some point was called the breadbasket of Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe's climate is so good. Zimbabwe was just generally like the farming capital. Even now, Zimbabwe is the farming capital in Southern Africa. Most of grain comes from Zimbabwe that is distributed across Southern Africa. Another thing that I like the most is that we have a variety of sadzas, of meals to cook our sadza with. You can pick from wheat, millet, sorghum, rapoko, we call them mungazviyo, njera, gorosi in Chishona, that is our local language, and those are generally just healthy, more healthy than maize meal, because those of you guys who don't know, those were our staple meal powder before corn or maize came to Africa. You know, living in Zimbabwe, even after exploring other countries, is the Zimbabwean cities. I find Zimbabwean cities interesting because for every city that I've stayed in, you know, that I've visited, there is definitely a unique story about it. And I absolutely love it. You can visit Mutare. You guys already know Mutare, as I've told you guys, is the city of the mountains. You can look anywhere and you can actually see a mountain. We have Kariba, the story of the Nyami Nyami, the river spirit. They call Harare the Sunshine City, and of course it is the capital city. You know, if you go to Kwekwe, that is the home of the stew. We have Cisco stew. You know, Bulawayo, the seat of the kings and the queens. Makosi, I'm here to visit Bulawayo again, this time on camera. I visited Bulawayo before. I want to explore those places with you guys. So if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? We have transport systems running from city to city. We have buses. We also have planes, not in many cities, but we've like maybe in 3 major cities. We have alternative transport, like if you have a personal car, that's okay. You can still use the metered cars like taxi, Uber, Hyundai, you know, InDrive. And also I got to come to Zimbabwe and experience the Kombi culture. There is beauty in the chaos at the Kombis, you guys. Of course, personally, I wouldn't want it every day, and I don't have it every day, but I want to try the Kombi someday and get to experience the vibe of Zimbabwean culture. It's rawest, it's most raw, or the rawest, so raw. Okay, last but not least, you guys, Zimbabwe is a safe space, you guys. Having traveled across many countries, I know Zimbabwe is the safest country in Africa. It is one of the safest places in the whole world. And when I'm talking about safety, I'm not talking about cameras everywhere. I'm just talking about people in general practicing humanity and being able to take care of one another without, you know, the intention to harm the other excessively. In Zimbabwe, you actually rarely meet scary people on the street. Yes, they are there in certain places that you want to avoid, but it's not as bad, you guys. I've gone to the worst places that you guys call, oh, this is the worst place in a country or in a city, usually in the capital cities. In Zimbabwe, there's places like Mbare. In South Africa, there's places like Hillbrow, downtown Nairobi. You know, those places, those hideous places. But I've gone to Mbare, you guys, and I've filmed videos for you guys there, and you guys have seen those videos, meaning that my cameras survived. You go to other places, I've definitely seen a whole camera crew getting robbed in a certain country. And I mean, Mbare is full of people, vibrant people who are really just trying to make it work for themselves. Of course, you can't deny the fact that it's also the place that houses, you know, those people who misuse certain substances. But I mean, it's safe. People are doing self-harm, yes, but harming the next person, no. And I like that for Zimbabwe. In Shona, these are called Mbava, and I won't lie to you, if you're ever thinking of coming to Zimbabwe, or if you are a Zimbabwean and you are thinking of doing something that is out of order, Mbava Dzinorowa, guys. Mbava Zimbabwe Dzinorowa. It's a thing in Zimbabwe that if somebody tries to snatch something from you, shout Mbava. Mbava. And once a person shouts Mbava, it starts becoming everyone's problem. You get what I'm saying? People start running after the Mbava. People will do what they have to do to discipline you lightly before they take you to the police. And I'm sure once they catch you, you never want to steal from people again. So basically that's the culture. I was surprised that in other countries you'd see someone on a border, they snatch from you. You just go like, oh, and it's gone. Or you give credit that no, you need to stay away, you need to be, you need to be very courteous because there is Mbava everywhere. No, you can't be scared about walking in your own country because somebody is going to steal from you. So that's the level of safety that I'm talking about. I've seen other countries where somebody can just get, boom, or somebody can just get, and nobody says anything about it. People just go on with their business like it's normal, or somebody's getting robbed. I literally just saw someone getting, taken down because they were holding a laptop bag. That's in another country that is not Zimbabwe, because they're holding a laptop bag, and then people kept moving. And I looked and I moved too, because you can already know here the stories where if you try to help, you're going to be the next victim, or sometimes you might not even make it out alive, and that is very scary. Yes, there are cases where these stories start coming up, or so and so was unalived in a certain place, so and so this happened, so and so this happened. Of course, every other place is, like I was saying, but basically I love it here in Zimbabwe, and you could actually feel the sense of safety once you cross the borders, because everyone is trying to look out for you. Sister, don't do this, because if you do that, something might happen to you. Sis, don't go on this side of town because that's where the bad guys are, so walk on this side. If I tell you that in another country I was literally directed to those places where you're asking for directions, and then they direct you to those places where the thieves are, and that is so terrible. And yes, there is crime everywhere. Crime also exists in Zimbabwe, but the level of crime in Zimbabwe is not deadly, you guys. There are small crimes like, oh, they snatched my hat, they snatched my purse, and it's not very common anyway. Yes, they snatched, but there is no way it's going to be that deadly, except the little occasions where people are trying to be gangsters and it's not working out. In Zimbabwe, they'll teach you a lesson. But basically, that is it for today's video. Those are some of the things that make me want to stay in Zimbabwe even after living in other countries, and I believe those are the things that you need to consider if you want to move to Zimbabwe. Is this something that you're really looking forward to? Because for me, one of the reasons why I even moved back basically was because of the safety. I feel so safe, I feel so good to be home, and I actually recommend people who are thinking of coming to Zimbabwe, people who are thinking of visiting Zimbabwe, people who are actually considering relocating to Zimbabwe. I just want to say that Zimbabwe is safe, and all the other things that I've mentioned, I have other things that I can talk about. I could go on and on, but that's it for today. Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section if you want me to talk about the cons now of living in Zimbabwe. I'll give them to you, because this channel is also not propaganda, but I want you guys to have like the reality of things, because no country is perfect. The goods and the bads exist. I want you guys to have a general understanding, so that when you make these decisions, you are well informed. I'm Tinu Sparks, your favorite African without borders, currently in Harare, Zimbabwe, and I am signing out.